All right, let's dive right in. We're talking about one of the most explosive relationships on the planet right now, the one between the US and Iran. It's early 2026, and after decades of simmering tension, things have hit a real boiling point. And believe me, the consequences of what happens next could be felt all over the world.
So that leads us to the big question, right? The one everyone's asking. Is it going to be war or is it going to be peace? What's so wild about this moment is that we're seeing two completely different futures taking shape at the exact same time. One path leads straight to a devastating conflict, but the other, well, the other could lead to a peace deal that nobody saw coming. So let's set the scene. It's the first couple of months of 2026, and, this whole US-Iran situation has become the global flashpoint. And make no mistake, this isn't just some distant political drama. It's already shaking up everything from the price of gas to who's friends with whom in the Middle East, and way beyond.
So you might be asking, how in the world did we get to this point? Well, this thing didn't just pop up out of nowhere. The tension really goes all the way back to the Iranian Revolution in 1979. Now, for a little while in the 2020s, things were, well, let's just say stable-ish. But then things really started to come apart. In 2025, huge protests erupted inside Iran, and the government cracked down hard. That brought a ton of international pressure. So now you've got this perfect storm of internal chaos in Iran and a whole lot of military muscle flexing from the outside. And that's what's brought us right here to this razor's edge. Okay. So first, let's talk about the really alarming path, the one where the drums of war are beating loud and clear. Both sides are making some pretty big moves, and honestly, analysts are on edge. They're worried that one tiny mistake, a single wrong move in a place like the Strait of Hormuz, could accidentally spiral into an all-out war. It's that tense. And on the U.S. side, the message couldn't be clearer. They've sent the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group right into the Middle East. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, that's not just one ship. We're talking about a floating fortress, a massive concentration of warships and fighter jets. It's the definition of a show of force, and there's no question who it's aimed at. It's a message to Iran that says, we're here and we're ready. But Iran is absolutely not just sitting back and watching. No way. They fired back with their own military flexing, running huge drills and security exercises. And they're doing it right in the Strait of Hormuz, which is like one of the most important shipping lanes for oil in the entire world. So Tehran's message is just as blunt. Try anything and we're ready to fight back. And it's not just about moving ships and soldiers around. The words being thrown back and forth are just as intense. I mean, just listen to this from Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. He said, "Any U.S. attack will create a major war in the Middle East." You can't get much more direct than that. It really lays out the stakes. So with all of this going on, you'd be forgiven for thinking war is pretty much a done deal. But what if it's not? Because while all of this is happening out in the open, something else, something totally unexpected, has been going on in secret, and it's creating a completely different story. Yeah, believe it or not, even with those war drums beating, a quiet, very fragile path to peace has actually opened up. This is the other track, the one that's taken everyone by surprise and is giving the world just a little bit of hope. And here's the bombshell. Direct talks. The US and Iran are actually talking to each other directly. And this isn't just a rumor. Both sides have confirmed it's happening. You've got President Trump saying Iran is negotiating seriously, and you have Iran's President Pezeshkian confirming it too. I mean, after years of basically shouting at each other through third parties, they are finally in the same room, face to face. That is a huge deal. Okay, so what are they actually hashing out? Well, the list of demands shows you just how far apart they are. The U.S. wants Iran to make big changes to its nuclear program, limit its missiles, and back off from its activities in the region. And what does Iran want? They want the U.S. military to back off, they want the crushing economic sanctions lifted, and they want a promise that the U.S. will stay out of their business. So yeah, finding a middle ground here is going to be tough. These aren't small details. We're talking about core security issues for both countries. And it's not just the two of them. Other countries are jumping in to help. You've got places like Turkey offering to play mediator, trying to help them broker what could be a really historic deal. It kind of shows you that the rest of the world is really, really hoping they can pull this off and step back from the edge. Right? Because none of this is happening in a bubble. What happens between the US and Iran sends ripples, or more like tidal waves, across the entire globe. It's a perfect example of how connected everything is. And if you want a perfect example, just look at the economy. The moment news broke that peace talks might actually be working, global oil prices dropped 5%, just like that. It shows you how much this whole situation has the markets spooked. A real peace deal could mean an instant economic boost for pretty much everyone. And around the world, everybody's got an opinion, and they're all over the map. You've got Israel, a key U.S. ally, pushing for a much tougher approach with Iran. Then you have Iran's Arab neighbors, who are basically begging for diplomacy because they're terrified of getting caught in the middle of a war. And then, just to make things even more complicated, the European Union goes and labels Iran's Revolutionary Guard a terrorist organization, which adds a whole new layer of pressure. It's a geopolitical mess, and it just shows that everyone, everywhere, has skin in this game. So, that brings us right back to where we are now, a moment where it feels like history is holding its breath. You've got these two massive forces, war and peace, pulling in opposite directions, all at the same time. It really is balanced on a knife's edge. And this really sums it all up, doesn't it? You have two possible futures right here in one single moment. Down one road, you've got the path to war, more military hardware, more threats, and the risk of a regional disaster. But down the other road, you've got the path to peace, high-stakes talks, a sliver of hope, two completely different outcomes, and the world is just waiting to see which one becomes reality. You know, it's not often you see history at a crossroads this clear. The paths to war and peace have rarely been so visible and pursued so aggressively at the exact same time. The decision that gets made here in the next few weeks isn't just about the US and Iran. It's going to shape the Middle East and maybe the whole world for years, maybe even decades to come. So as everyone holds their breath, the only question left is, which path will they choose?